Henry Ravenswood. There are 3 haunted mansions across a fictional USA. A New England manor, built in the 17th century Tudor style. An antebellum plantation mansion, built in the marshlands of New Orleans, just around the Mississippi River. And last but not least, a Second Empire manor, built in the hills of the old west town of Thunder Mesa, overlooking the Thunder Mountain and the town itself. Thunder Mesa is interconnected with other fictional Disney Old West towns such as Rainbow Ridge and Westernland. Thunder Mesa is named after a mesa right next to a mountain where Native Americans said a thunderbird god inhabited. When miners found gold right in the entrails of the mountain, prospectors came from all over the country to find their own. Native Americans warned the miners that if they dig too deep, they would mess with the thunder god and there would be serious consequences to the perpetrators. With the fortune of being one of the first prospectors to struck gold in the mountain, Henry Ravenswood founds the Thunder Mesa Mining Company that administers the mining operations within the mountain. Soon, he and his wife Martha become one of the richest, if not the richest, family on town, and decided to build a second empire house at the hills at the eastern portion of Thunder Mesa, overlooking the town in Thunder Mountain. Little is known about the youth of this man before the mining company. He was not a rich man before that, and many claimed he was a train robber who became a prospector. Hence his great experience with weapons and his tenaciousness when doing business with miners. The town prospered and expanded, opening new saloons, restaurants, and cafes. The Ravenswoods also prospered and had a daughter, Melanie, whom they loved deeply. But the love Henry felt for his daughter overshadowed that of Martha's. As Melanie grew, he became more possessive of her, limiting her life, movements, and decisions, ever scared of something bad happening to her. Being the richest man in Thunder Mesa did not help. He was also paranoid about her daughter's suitors, for many of them seemed to be literal gold diggers who would want her for her fortune and then break her heart. The idea of her daughter dating or marrying was something that began to haunt him. Melanie had a series of suitors which died mysterious deaths days before the wedding. It was never known to Melanie, at least not in life, but her father arranged for all deaths. Barry Claude was mauled by a bear. Captain Owen D. Falls, who is presumed to have been one of the captains of the Mark Twain riverboat, fell off the wharf. Sawyer Bottom was cut in half by an industrial saw, and Ignatius Knight simply exploded with a bunch of dynamite. The deaths transformed Melanie into more of a depressed young girl, until he met a trained engineer whom she was to marry. She insisted so much, Henry consented for the first time, but when Melanie declared they were to leave Thunder Mesa for good after the marriage, Henry lost it. On wedding day, after the religious service, a party was held at the Grand Hall ballroom of the manor. Guests from all over America came, but Melanie could not find her husband. Little did she know her husband was being murdered in the rafters of the manor. The silhouette, whom guests later called the Phantom, hanged him to death. But Melanie could not believe it, and she became a bit mad and wandered the house looking for her husband. The Phantom was no other than Henry Ravenswood, doing whatever it takes to keep her daughter safe at home and within his grasp. Soon after the wedding, the Indian prophecy came true, and Thunder Mesa Mining Company digged too deep inside the mountain, and Thunderbird's spirit flung its wings and created a thunder that shook the earth. The earthquake was so strong, part of the town collapsed and fell underground, also affecting the Boot Hill Cemetery and unearthing some of the corpses. The Ravenswood Manor did not suffer too much damages, but Henry and Martha and part of the guests died in the earthquake that shook the town. This event caused a permanent closure of Thunder Mountain, which later was claimed to be haunted by the souls of angry miners who perished during the earthquake and made the abandoned mine trains move again. As for the manor, it remained untouched, unvisited. Inhabitants who perished there were buried in the close-by Boot Hill Cemetery, and Henry was not seen again for long. That is, until years later the inhabitants heard strange sounds inside the house, which was now a decadent, abandoned manor. They decided to send the sheriff and some other volunteers to see what was happening, and even open it to the public so they could venture inside and see for themselves what was left of what once was the greatest, most splendid manor the town ever had. Visitors saw apparitions inside and manifestations of ghosts and vacated it. Some claimed they saw a shadowy figure, whom they called the Phantom, because it reminded them of the murder during the wedding night. Hence they called the manor ever since Phantom Manor. The Phantom himself was no other than the spirit of Henry Ravenswood, preventing her daughter from leaving the house even after death in a more sinister and obsessed manner. Henry Ravenswood was created by Imagineers to be the owner of Big Thunder Mountain and the Phantom Manor. He was father of Melanie, but for many years he was not officially the Phantom or the killer of Melanie's groom. At best, he was a side character whose only appearance was at Boot Hill Cemetery. During the 2019 refurb, he was confirmed as the Phantom himself and given portraits within the house which depicted him when he lived. His look as a ghost consists of the same trench coat, cape and top hat he wore while living. His face now skeletal, with two red lights floating in his empty sockets. He constantly harasses Melanie's ghost during the ride and is seen hanging the skeletal corpse of Melanie's last groom. He originally was going to be named Arthur Ravenswood. The last name was based on that of Thurl Ravenscroft, one of the Haunted Mansion singing busts. This character had a brother named Henry, who was a bully, womanizer, and ex-criminal. The personality of Henry and his name were adopted by Arthur later on, and so the character of Henry Ravenswood was born as we know him today. The Phantom's laughter was made by Vincent Price, who also made the original narration in English. Henry, in his living form, was also seen at the Réouverture promotional video, inviting guests to visit the manor. I presume he is the same actor or model who was used as a model for the real-life look of Henry Ravenswood in the portrait gallery. But many of you might be wondering, is Phantom Manor connected to the Haunted Mansion? Why, of course it is. It's got some shared characters we'll discuss later on. For now, I am being expected someplace else, but I leave you now, and I'll be waiting for you on the other side. And I wish you a frightfully good time. And be sure to like and subscribe, so we don't lose each other's touch, and I may follow you home whenever you leave. I'll see you all a little later.